Welcome to this Manor Lords basic tips and tricks guide. I'm going to go through a few things that I found really useful to help me get started on a new save, and a couple of things that I've learned that I think are just generally really useful and will help you in your game as well. So something I mentioned in my starter guide was upgrading your ox capacity by building an additional hitching post early on. You can upgrade hitching posts into a small stable, so they have double the capacity. You can have up to 2 in there, and you can have either an ox or a horse. These are super useful for when you want to have lots of ox to help with farming. So I've built this one right next to this farmhouse. And this is really going to speed up your general building capabilities and allow you to expand with a lot more ease, so you don't have one ox that's trying to do everything. So another important thing is to keep families free for when you are building things. So up here in the top left, we have the number of unassigned and assigned families and the number of total living space. So if we want to go and build something, let's just say we want to build a logging camp here. So if we build that here, we're not going to have anyone available. And it does give us a pop-up to say that we have unassigned families needed for construction work, but nobody is able to work on this currently. So what's best is to just unassign people from where you might not need them. And then you have these 6 available and they can start working on that. Another important thing is not to neglect granary and storehouse workers. So these are the people who are doing literally the heavy lifting and bringing all of your goods into one useful location. So this granary is gathering lots of bread and apples and other things. If you go into the advanced tab, you can actually change what items that you actually want to be stored in there. So maybe, I don't want my grain and my flour to be stored so far away from all of my fields. Maybe I want those in another granary, so I have a different granary here where a lot of that is being stored instead. And obviously just keep an eye on the storage limit as well. Just make sure you have enough people assigned to this to keep things moving, and the same goes for your storage as well. So there's a lot of other things that are going to be going on in the storage. You can do the same kind of micromanagement for different types of items if you wish, and you can also set their work area, so maybe they'll only grab things from a certain area. So there's a lot of micromanagement that you can do here. I often pull people in and out of these if I feel like that there's actually no need for that. But just keep an eye on this. Don't neglect having people not working here, because they will be the ones bringing a lot of your goods around and help the flow of your economy. Next tip, do not neglect rich deposits. So just taking berries as an example here, a standard berry deposit has 64 capacity, and that is seasonal. So that is 64 maximum. If we go over to this rich deposit here, that has 128. So rich deposits for berries and for wild animals, those are going to double. Whereas if we look at iron deposit, for example, this iron deposit has over 2,000 maximum capacity, and this iron deposit only has 100. And same for stone. This stone is only 140. This is 600. So rich deposits are incredibly valuable. Do keep an eye on them. And you can also, for berries, for example, standard one is 64. The rich deposit is 128. And with a development point, you can get your rich berry deposit up to 256 maximum capacity. So that is really, really useful. Keep an eye out for those, and do think about those rich deposits when you're looking at taking new territory. Another key thing is making sure you make use of roads. So roads are completely free to build. You can build as many of them as you like, and families will move quicker along these roads. So maybe it's not efficient to just have this one road going to our rich clay deposit here. Maybe we want to build a diagonal going up this hill towards the clay deposit for people coming in the other direction. So we can build as many of these as we like, and it's good to connect them as well. You can make very curved roads. That's one of the beauties of this game, is you can really just build whatever you want. Doesn't cost anything to build. And while you're on this roads tab, if you just press Alt and left click, you can just get rid of the entire road. So it will just remove the road that you build. So if I just built a cross section there and try to remove that, it's going to remove all of it, not just the bit that goes up to this crossroad there. So do build roads. You can just remove them when you don't need them anymore. So once I've exhausted this, I'll probably just remove all of these roads just to keep things clean, and maybe we can do farming there instead. So use roads. They're awesome. They're free. Don't forget. So maybe you've built a logging camp and you think, oh, well, they've exhausted this whole area. I don't want this here anymore. Well, don't just leave it there. Don't be afraid to move buildings around. It will need to be reconstructed, but it doesn't cost anything extra. It's really worth moving around just for that extra efficiency and flexibility. So another great tip that I think a lot of people have missed is actually just pressing tab. So if you just press tab, you get this really good overview of your buildings and your residences. You can see how many families are living here, what level the burgage plot is. You can see actually this one I can upgrade to level 2. Just gives a really nice overview. You can see which buildings are not being worked on. Maybe you can't actually find a building. So if you zoom out, press tab, it helps you find some of these buildings that might be a little bit hidden. It also helps you spot Oxen, where the Oxen are residing currently, and if they're on the move, you can spot them moving around as well. So this is just really nice overview. It also gives you some visibility for your farmland and what is currently planted and what they're harvesting. So definitely press tab, make use of it, get into a habit of pressing it occasionally just to keep an eye on things. It's a really good tool. It's a really good. So something else to keep in mind is expanding slowly and leveling up your burgage plots. So when you're ready and you have the resources and you have all of these requirements ready, you can upgrade your burgage plots. So the benefit of this is obviously it's going to bring in some additional regional wealth per family per month, but also keep in mind that if you do upgrade this, you will need to maintain each of these requirements in order to keep them happy. So if I do upgrade this now, I will have to make sure that I have a steady flow of ale, I have good food variety, and I have all of those requirements. So don't upgrade too many too quickly if you don't have that steady supply of ale, or if you don't have a strong food variety or clothing supply. Just keep that in mind because it might affect your approval rating further down the line. So another small tip is to expand at your own pace. Don't feel the need to rush things. I know you might want to try to unlock everything as quick as possible, but I think it's very important to just go at a pace that suits you, go at a pace that you feel comfortable with. Don't feel the need to rush anything. Expand also at a rate that your town or village can handle. You want to make sure that you still have enough supplies, ideally at least 12 months. That's what I try to go for as really a minimum if possible. Try to have at least 12 months supply just to keep you going, just in case you lose some crops, or if anything happens, you have that contingency. Just take your time, just have fun with it, and also learn the shortcuts for changing the speed of the game. So you can press X to speed up the time, you can press Z to slow it down, and if you're already on another speed, you can press spacebar just to pause, and when you unpause, it will always go back to play on the lowest speed. And one of the last things I'd suggest is just press escape and go into settings. Have a look at all the different settings here. Maybe you want to turn off the cosmetic day and night cycle. That's not for everyone. There's lots of different things that you can adjust here. Maybe just get familiar with a lot of these different key bindings and shortcuts. Change some of the audio settings if you don't want a lot of the ambient voice lines on. And just have a play around with it, figure out what works for you, and just learn a bit more about the controls for the game. And as a bonus tip, I would recommend just going over here to the top right by your portrait, clicking on this eye icon to go into visit mode. And this will put you in a third person view of being able to walk around your town. So you can really get a feel for everything. You can hear the villagers talking. You can just get a lot more immersed in what you've built. And maybe it gives you some ideas of what you want to build next or how you want to expand. And it's also really useful for coming in and just finding the high ground for battles. So you can see there's quite a steep downhill there. Maybe if I do get attacked, I want to position some of my archers and my troops fighting here. It's a really nice extra. I think there's going to be a bit more development on this side of the game as the development cycle progresses. But I really love this as a feature. I'm glad that they included it in early access. So do go and enjoy it. And that's it for this basic tips and tricks video. I hope these were useful. Do let me know in the comments if there's anything else that I haven't covered, or if you've learned that you think would be useful for other people to know. I'm going to be releasing a lot of guides generally for Manor Lords, especially as the game progresses and we have more development. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.